All right, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Sweat the Bet podcast brought to you by our sponsors, OddsJam.com. If you are sports betting right now, you need to go check out OddsJam.com for a bunch of awesome sports betting tools. Some of them are free. Some of them are premium. We have easy bet tracking, easy line shopping, which is an absolute must if you're betting regularly, positive EV, positive expected value alerts. All of these things are on OddsJam.com. What are you waiting for? Go check it out right now. We are the hosts of the Sweat the Bet podcast. I'm Andrew Kim, aka the ParlayDoc, here with my co-host Matt, aka Jedi Modi. What is up, Jedi?
Not much. Week 8. How crazy is that? I just can't believe that we're already 8 weeks into the NFL season. And the Eagles haven't lost. How about that? The Eagles have not lost.
Go Eagles fly,
Hey, and your Bears showing some fight.
Oh,
well, I think you just have to bet against them every single game because they seem to win.
Lord, yeah. Every time I bet against them, the Bears win. So Chicago Bears fans can thank me that last week one of my bets was fading the Bears, and that's why they won, because I faded them in week 1 against the 49ers and the monsoon game happened. And now when I fade them, when the New England Patriots are starting to get on a roll, we stir up a huge quarterback controversy in the beginning of the game, and we decide to just self-implode as the Patriots. So that's great.
I mean, what was that? I mean, like, they gave Mac Jones three drives. I mean, he looked bad, but they gave him 3 drives, then put in. Well, I mean, what a weird game that was. Once Zappy came in and it was just zapping all over the place, I was like, okay, so this is going to turn into a blowout. But hey, that was the best the Bears offense has looked. Obviously, I mean, they scored 33 points, but like stylistically, finally, like getting Justin Fields out on the run, play action, some bootlegs. It was the most creative you've ever seen the Bears offense under Justin Fields.
Exactly. And of course, though, it's on the night where I needed them to not win, but whatever. Yeah. There we go, Bears. Go Bears. Go Bears. So anytime, guys, you hear me as a Chicago Bears fan fading my team, that's when you bet the Bears money line at a juicy plus odds scenario, guys.
What were they, like plus 400 or something?
Oh, there was something ridiculous. Yeah, I can't even remember at this point.
I will say, I don't think I've real quick. I don't think I've made the Eagles any of my official best bets for the podcast, but I'm pretty sure that giving my predictions against the spread for the Eagles, I am 0-6. I'm pretty sure I've gotten every single pick against the spread wrong for the Eagles.
See, and this is why, even though I believe in positive EV and meticulously trying to find good value, the degenerate part of me believes in bad juju, and I've brought in the bad juju by fading my own hometown team. So if you're smart out there and if you are a juju believer, you do what Matt does, and you do that in private, and you don't put it out there as official picks to fade to support your own team or fade your own team.
Actually,
just don't even include your own team. Basically,
one time I had the Eagles against the Cardinals. They've covered every spread except for 2. And the one of the games they didn't was the Cardinals. We both had the Eagles covering. That was the only time I've actually made them an official bet.
Gotcha.
But anyways, the sneak preview, they're not in any of my official bets this week.
All right, guys. So what we got for you today, we are crazily, like Matt said, we're already at NFL Week 8. So we are going to be talking about NFL Week 8 games. We're going to be talking primetime games, couple of select games from Sunday, and then we will be going over our best bets like we usually do. So before we dive into our usual segments today, we got some mailbag questions. So for those of you who have submitted questions, we appreciate you. We thank our core supporters here listening to our podcast, listening to our YouTube videos on our channel, our live streams. So if you want to participate and you want to ask questions like this, could be sports related, not sports related, email your questions to sweatthebetoj. So sweatthebetoj@gmail.com. So why don't we get to it, Matt? What are some of the questions that were sent in for this week's episode?
Sure. So one of them is topical based on the time of year it is. I'll save that one for last because it's pretty simple. This one I thought was kind of fun. I heard it on another podcast as well. But so you have a Saturday to yourself. Wife and kids are out of town, accounted for, no issues there. You got a couple hours on a Saturday to yourself, not overnight, just for the day. How are you spending that Saturday? What are you doing?
Oh, that Saturday, I'm probably going to be researching some sports bets, firing bets off on college sports that I know nothing about, researching ahead of time for NFL, maybe firing off some early ones, going to Home Depot for no reason because I already have multiple tool sets.
So
And
Home
I've pretty
Depot is
much
like your guilty
Home
pleasure
Depot.
place to go. Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty handy. I'd say I have like very basic handyman skills. So there's nothing that's like totally out of repair, but I'd find something to fix for no reason because um, repairing things, fixing things, it's just kind of a weird therapeutic release. So I'm just going to find something to fix or find something to update for no reason. So I'll be roaming Home Depot for 2 hours.
Okay. I like it. I like it. For me, I'm probably taking an hour to walk the dogs. Depending on how their behavior is during the walk, that can be very relaxing or it can be very stress inducing. One of my dogs loves to sniff as they walk. One of my other dogs loves to eat everything that is possibly on the ground and is also an aggressive puller. So between the two of them, sometimes we could walk for 10 minutes and move 10 feet. But sometimes they're good. And if it's a good walk, you pop in a podcast. This was a pandemic thing for me, but I really enjoyed a nice walk. There's nothing to me like a nice walk with the podcast in. Then I'm probably sitting on the couch. I got two TVs in the basement. I'm either throwing on a game if there's a good college game on, or I'm throwing on some sort of brainless movie or anime that I've seen before. And I'm throwing on also a brainless video game like Pokemon, like some Mario game. And I'm just sitting there. I could spend 6 hours doing that and be completely content with my life.
See, I think that's where we might differ is like my wife will tell you like on my days off, she's like, you can't relax. She's like, you're always looking for something to do.
So you're one of those people.
I'm saying, do you need me to go buy something for you? Do you have errands for me to run? Let me go do it I'm just like, I need to be moving and doing something like all day long. And this is why you'll see me tweeting things at 1 a.m. on my Twitter at ParlayDoc on my Twitter timeline because I'm just restless. Like I can probably easily just roll with 5.5, 6 hours of sleep like every day and just be fine. And if I could have it my way, I would always take uppers and never go to sleep because I have so many things that I want to do. So I'm definitely not a downer, mellow kind of guy. I just be on uppers all the time and I just be up all the time.
Oh, I had a question. Oh no. So I think one of the things I'm most jealous about other people that can function off of that amount of sleep. If I get less than 7 hours of sleep, I might as well not exist for the day. Like because I also don't sleep well. I'm an incredibly restless sleeper. Like I'll wake up almost every hour in the middle of the night and just fall back asleep. But there's nothing I'm more jealous of than A, that people that can sleep well, and B, people that can function off lack of sleep. But what I was going to ask, so like on a typical NFL Sunday, are you not watching all the games? Are you like up and doing stuff and not watching, or does that count as something?
I'll watch the like first quarter just to see how things go. Unless it's like a Bears game that I want to watch like most of because it's my home team. I usually won't watch the whole thing. I'll usually watch like the first quarter of like a handful of early slate games flipping back and forth. If I have some like big bet or like, let's say, I'm wrapping up like a multi-leg parlay, I will then be glued later, maybe like in the third, fourth quarter of one of I'm usually watching the primetime games though. So like if there's like a big, mid-afternoon game, Sunday night, Monday night, the nighttime games, I pretty much watch those from start to finish. But Sunday, I got so much going on that usually I'll watch the first quarter or so and then catch like the fourth quarter and just kind of look at my apps in between.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I would say for me, I'm definitely not a restless person that has to be doing stuff at all times, but I try to do I don't always accomplish this, but I try to do one active thing a day, whether it's like I work out, I go for a run, I go for like a bike ride, whatever. And if I get my active thing out of the way, I could sit on the couch for 6 hours and be completely content with my life.
Gotcha. Cool. So you said there was one more question from the mailbag for today?
Well, it's Halloween's in 5 days. Give me your top 3 Halloween candies.
Top 3. Milk Duds. Oh God, man. Milk Duds, Skittles, and just plain old milk chocolate Hershey's. Those are my top 3.
Okay. Are you not much of you don't seem like you have that much of a sweet tooth.
Oh no, I have a sweet tooth. I love candies, I love cakes, I love pies, I love all that stuff. Yeah.
That stuff, yeah. For me, number one, probably not too much of a hot take, but Milky Way. I'm a big caramel guy. I love caramel. Number 2, Reese's. It's the GOAT for a reason. Number 3, I like a good this one you don't see everywhere and it's not super common, but like a good Oreo chocolate bar. I don't know if you've seen those. They have like the same makeup as a Twix, but instead of like the nougat and the caramel, it's basically like Oreo cream. It's very good. It's very good.
Nice. You dressing up? You and your lady, you guys dressing up for Halloween?
Yeah, we are. We're doing Stranger Things theme. We got a wig and everything. Have you seen the newest season?
No, I haven't seen the newest one.
Okay. Well, I'm being Eddie Munson. He's like a new character in the show with a nice long flow. And my girlfriend is being the cheerleader, Chrissy, who I won't spoil it, but yeah, she's being the cheerleader, Chrissy. So she's way more into dress up and Halloween than I am. Last year we were Mario and Peach because like I love Mario. The year before I wasn't in town for Halloween, so we didn't do anything. But if it was single Matt, I would just put on a jersey. I'm a football player and like be the lamest Halloween costume in the world. But she loves to dress up, so we dress up.
Gotcha. All right, guys. So send in more mailbag questions. Like we said, it could be sports related, doesn't have to be sports related, but we love the interaction, guys. And we appreciate all of you that join us for our live streams. And we know that we have a core following of you guys that have been pretty regular with us, giving us suggestions, having bets thrown back and forth between each other. So we love it, guys. So keep it up. So let's move on to our traditional sweat, no sweat segment. We already kind of touched on this. I'm going to keep this brief, and I left it vague on purpose so you can kind of take it any way you want. So nothing too specific here. But for me, my statement for you for our sweat, no sweat today, Matt, is the Mac Jones situation in New England is a total disaster right now. Sweat or no sweat. You could take it whichever way you want. I left it broad on purpose.
Absolutely. Excuse me. Absolutely no sweat. Everything about that Patriots offense is a total disaster. They had 2 good weeks with Bailey Zappi. Good for them. But one of the biggest reasons why I was not high on the Patriots this year, look at their offensive coaching staff. It's Matt Patricia and it's Joe Judge. It's 2 of the biggest caveman buffoon coaches that we've seen in the past 5 years. And if you want to see the difference between a good coach and a bad coach, look at last year's Giants. Look at this year's Giants. They pretty much the same roster, almost exactly the same rosters. Yes, Saquon looks a lot better. I'll give him that. Saquon looks a lot better.
Yeah,
pretty much the exact same roster. And look how much better the Giants are. And then I guess the Lions still stink, so you can't really say look at that. But we all like Matt Patricia was a total train wreck with the Lions. Joe Judge was a total train wreck with the Giants, and Bill Belichick, because he has just like this massive hubris and like loves his guys. Like, I'll like have these 2 horrible coaches coach up the offense because I'm Belichick and I'll be fine. And it had me fooled for 2 weeks. I was like,
me too. Maybe
they found something in Bailey Zappi. And then when he came in and he had back-to-back touchdown drives, I was like, hey, maybe there is something here. But no. So no sweat to answer your question. Total train wreck.
Yeah, it's weird too. I mean, and even all the, I don't keep up too much with the gossipy stuff, but it's like, even from the beginning of the season where there was rumors about Mac Jones, like just, being just disgruntled, saying like, why are you bringing in a defensive coordinator? Like we're losing an offensive, guru somewhat to some degree. And then you're bringing in defensive guys to basically take over our offense.
It made no sense. It made no sense.
So he was questioning people, it sounded like. And again, some of these aren't even confirmed, but like rumors from the Boston Globe about, basically they wanted to humble Mac Jones and there seems to be friction there. And then even like actual comments from like Jacoby Myers, he's like, it was really rough seeing him pulled like that. He's like, for someone who works so hard to get back in after the injury, and then to do that to him and do him like that, they're like, we just didn't even know what to do, but we just had to play on because we're receivers. So even like, you could even get a sense there's something going on. Even the receivers are like, Jacoby Myers, like, I don't even know why they did that, basically. And so it's just weird tension and just weird vibes going on right now in that locker room. So.
I mean, look, Bill Belichick's obviously a great coach, probably the greatest coach of all time. But you start to see that like the crap that he pulls doesn't always fly when you don't have also the greatest quarterback who's ever lived. Yeah. So that's what makes me so happy about this is that like for my entire lifetime, since I was 10 years old to now, it's been the Patriots have ruled the NFL. You take away the best quarterback of all time, guess what? They're just like any other organization. And that makes me happy.
All right. So what do you got for me? What's your sweat, no sweat?
All right. I have a 2-part sweat or no sweat, talking about the NFC. So Eagles are clear favorites to come out of the NFC. Sweat or no sweat, the biggest threat to the Eagles making it to the Super Bowl. are the Cowboys.
Ooh, God. Yeah. I'd say so. I would say so. I don't even think I would hesitate that much at this point. Yeah, I would say with Dak back, you never know. I mean, they can just keep a run going. The weird part is, right? I mean, they didn't dig themselves this huge ditch during the Cooper Rush.
He missed 5 games and they went 4-1. Like that's pretty good.
That's insane. I mean, I basically chalk them up to being their season is doomed.
Me too.
But they're in the mix. So I mean, what can you say?
Micah Parsons might be the best defensive player on the planet. I think he might. Yes. I mean, it's been Aaron Donald for a long time. I think he might be better. All right. So the taking out the NFC East. So basically not including anybody. I mean, Giants aren't really a threat, but taking out the Cowboys, the next biggest threat are the Buccaneers still. Even though all the craziness going on at the end of the year, the Bucs will be the biggest threat, non-NFC East.
Non-NFC East. Oh, God. Man, it would take a lot, but if the stars align and everyone's healthy, like, I mean, yes, I guess so. I mean, because it's just, if they could just get their stuff together and just go on a little mini heater, I guess, but I don't know. That's rough. But yeah, I mean, it's rough, but I could see it. I mean, you have the pieces there. It's just everything is the opposite of clicking. It's just been a total disaster, basically.
It's been weird. It's been very weird. Yeah, I mean, I guess so. If I were to ask you to like rank the AFC or the NFC teams, it sounds like you'd have Eagles 1, Cowboys 2. Just into not even necessarily in like getting to the Super Bowl, just in terms of the best teams in the NFC. Is that right?
I would say, yeah. I mean, I would say right now, Eagles. To me, Eagles, Cowboys. As much as I slammed Greeny, was it a couple weeks ago?
Well, yeah,
saying,
he said clear favorites, which is lunacy. Favorite. You could say like if you said the Eagles are clear favorites, I would also say that's lunacy because it's not clear. Whatever you want to say.
Yeah, and then weirdly from there, actually, now that I think about it, I mean,
San Francisco,
honestly, I mean. So to go back to your other one, I would say if I said today, current state, I'd actually say rather than Bucks, it'd be San Francisco. That would be the biggest threat. So I take that back just because they're getting healthier. They're not, they still got tons of it, but they're getting a little healthier.
Yeah.
They have Christian McCaffrey, which we'll see. I mean, I'm not like on that hype train that he's going to suddenly make this an offensive juggernaut of a team, but definitely helps. It doesn't hurt. I'll tell you that for sure. I would say their defense is such a juggernaut that you get the offense clicking a little better, just a little better. I mean, they're a serious threat too. So I'd say current state, I take it back. I'd say more the 49ers, in my opinion, would be that outlier threat more than the Bucs, in my opinion. So,
yeah, I mean, like it's tough because like, who do I think has a better because the Eagles it's either going to be Eagles Cowboys who gets the first round bye, almost guaranteed. So if you're asking me like who's more likely to win 3 playoff games and go to the Super Bowl, I'd probably say Tampa Bay and the Bucs. But if you were to ask me like, okay, guess what? It's like the NFC Championship game. Who would you be more scared of? I'd probably be more scared of the 49ers just because of that defense. But when you look at like the holistic view and like the totality of it, I just can't get behind Jimmy G winning 3 playoff games.
I mean, how many times is he going to get a safety, right? I mean, that's the thing, right? So no, it's like, you give me a 1-game scenario right now. I mean, of course, and I'm stating the obvious. Like, I think everyone would say, I'll take the 49ers current state.
Yeah.
I will live with a juggernaut of a defense where I know minus a fluky day, they're going to contain you to some degree. And you're just hoping to God that Jimmy G and Kittle and these guys are going to be average, right? Like average.
Just get them the ball in space. Like that's like with McCaffrey and Debo and Kittle. Even Ayuk is good. But that's kind of the interesting way to look at it. Is like, if you just go 1 game, who are you more scared of? 49ers. But if you say who's more likely to go on a run, then I would still say the Bucs.
Yeah. Cause look, what in crunch time, I think the Bucs right now, it's something, I don't know what it is. Defense. Not discipline, motivation, but we've seen it, right? We've seen it where if you said, dude, your lives are on the line, I will still take
Tom
Brady
Brady.
throwing to Mike Evans
Exactly.
constantly, force feeding Mike Evans. Once in a while, Mike Evans getting triple team, freeing up Godwin, get a healthy break back, right? Of course, like I will take that and trust that offense despite how woeful they've been.
It's a good word.
If you said I'm gonna have to bet like my life on it, I would trust Brady still now more than Jimmy G.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
But again, so many things have to change rapidly for them to make a serious push at this point.
Yeah.
So.
And we'll talk about both of these teams because they're both on like the slate of games we're talking about. But like I was listening to my Eagles podcast, and they are both, and I have two that I listen to, and both of them were talking about the biggest non-Cowboys threat to the Eagles. And you just like sit back and you're just like, man, the NFC stinks. Like what a golden opportunity this is for both whoever makes it between the two. Like what a golden opportunity it is for both of those teams.
Yep, exactly. So we'll do it. Let's dive into our games, guys. So let's move on to week 8, the meat and potatoes of our show. We're going to break down the primetime games and a couple select games that we've gone through. So the first game we're going to talk about, we'll go in order. Thursday night football. So if you're listening to this, you're likely listening to it a couple hours or half a day, prior to this starting. So we'll try to be quick with this one. So it's going to be one of the teams we just talked about. We have the Baltimore Ravens at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Oof, this is going to be a tough one. Just tough because of injuries, tough because of recent performances. So right now, as things stand, I'm just reading off real quick. They might have shifted a little, but last I checked, Bucks were -1.5 favorites on the spread. Bucks money line was around -118. Ravens even money for +100 money line. Total is around 45.5. Give or take, guys. That's what you're kind of looking at. So real quick, just injuries to keep in mind for this one. As of right now, Wednesday evening, October 26th, it's looking like Calais Campbell not going to be playing. It looks like Mark Andrews. It looks like Andrews didn't practice all week, so
he didn't practice last week either.
Yeah, he's not officially out, so we'll see if he plays.
I think he'll play. My guess is that he'll play.
Bateman was a full practice, so he still seems to be on track to play again. Real quick here, it was offensive rankings for the Ravens have taken a little bit of a hit. Not as big of an offensive DVOA juggernaut as they were before. They've dropped to 5th. The Bucks, 6th defense, 6th in pass, 11th versus the rush. One of the key things that stood out for the Ravens defense, 23rd versus the rush. They just cannot stop anybody running, basically. And that's been part of the reasons they have not been able to kill drives when other teams have been able to successfully just pound the rock. And to my dismay, this is why I've lost a few spread bets on them where they've got off to that early lead, can't hold the damn lead. They can't stop the run. So those are just some key DVOA stats to see. The trends are going down for the Ravens offense. They cannot stop the run. Bucks still good D, versus the rush. They've been a little bit more vulnerable than people realize. So my question before we go into our predictions and stuff and other breakdowns for the Bucks, just tell me right here, easy question. Was last week just one of those flukes? It's just when you lose focus and it's one of those games where it's just a total disaster and nothing goes right for you. Like Mike Evans, wide open,
oh my God,
touchdown pass, drop it. And it basically just set the tone for the game. And basically he even said, look, after that, he's like, I could see he's like, our guys we just got so deflated. To me, which is stupid because that happened pretty early. It's
the first quarter.
Yeah, it's like you can't just give up there. But anyway, I think he was just deflated when they were interviewing him. But was this an anomaly, or because you and I said at certain points we're just concerned about their health, their age, all this stuff? Is this who the Bucks are, or was this truly just like the valley? This was the valley of the season.
I mean, like you want to give them the benefit of the doubt, but they literally just lost 2 weeks ago to the Steelers, and they're like 8-point favorites. So you can't tell me that they had a misstep or that they weren't motivated or that they were looking past the Panthers. Like I would have believed that if the Bucks were 5-1 and they had, you know what I mean? But they literally just blew a game to the Steelers. So I mean, I don't know. Like I still think if I were to guess what is more likely, do they continue this downward trajectory or do they figure it out? I'm going to bet on them to figure it out just because, I mean, Tom Brady's been good for 45 years. Like good, like I will say, like maybe we haven't given enough stock into Bruce Arians retiring. Like, I mean, if you want to know like what the biggest difference is between the past 2 years and this year, number one, their offensive line is completely banged up. Like that's probably, I would say, the most important thing is their offensive line. And then Bruce Arians, like it's just different when Todd Bowles goes from defensive coordinator to head coach. It's just different when Byron Leftwich goes from offensive coordinator to like running the offense now. Bruce Arians, I think he had given up play calling to Byron Leftwich before he retired, but he was still the architect of that offense. Like it's just different when you are now the guy, which that was also a concern we had with the Bills, like, you know, Brian Daboll leaving. Obviously, Ken Dorsey turned out to be a gregreat coach. No issues there. We're now seeing like what the other side of that looks like when you don't necessarily have a great replacement. So I don't know. I find it funny. I feel like the NFL gives us like 3 good Thursday night football games a year. And they were so confident banking like this is going to be a good one. Ravens Bucks is going to be a great Thursday night football game. And now it turns out the Bucks stink. The Ravens, I don't know. So that, I mean, it's kind of related. My question to you, will either or both of these teams like get it together as the season goes on? Or do you think that this is just kind of who they are and they're going to end 9-8, 8-9, like somewhere around that 500 range?
I think this is who they are. I mean, I think this will shock some people. I think people who look at fantasy and gamble all the time, probably not them, but the casual fans, the casual fan out there, and I'm not saying this in a condescending way, it's like you're not tracking all these stats constantly, right? So you hear Tom Brady, you hear Mike Evans, you're like, oh, offense has got to be good. So something else is holding them back. They're 19th in offensive DVOA rankings, guys. Okay, so they've dropped from 16th to 19th. Pass DVOA, 10th, fine, decent, okay. Rush, 31st. So going back to your comments about play calling, running the offense, 31st. So they cannot establish the run whatsoever. So what are you doing? Everyone knows you're going to pass. So they're trying to make sure they're not going to get beat over the top. And they're just going to frustrate Brady. They'll live with the dink and dunk. And they'll say, as long as we could dink and dunk and get pressure on him, sack him a few times, we'll live with that, basically. It's just they can't get the run going. And back to your question, I don't know if you can salvage and basically create a better offensive line this deep into the season. And same thing, the opposite for the Ravens. I think this is who they are with their defense. They're going to have to figure out how to get, their offense even more supercharged and outscore people. Like they have not been that traditional, it's long gone, the Ray Lewis days. We just assume Baltimore, the iron wall. Like, I mean, it's all these guys are going to, stop these guys like Ray Lewis style. They can't stop the run. They can't stop anybody right now. And that's why they can't maintain these leads. That I don't know if those things are fixable halfway through the season at this point. I think you make slight tweaks, slight improvements, but I think this is who they're going to be.
Yeah, I mean, to the Bucks' point, all their offensive line injuries are season long. Like they're not getting any reinforcements. The guys just have to play better. And I wanted to look up like another data set because we like reference DVOA all the time, and I love DVOA. Like people way smarter than us. I like also value highly DVOA, but I just wanted to look at another site. So I was looking at PFF. They have the Bucks, similar to DVOA, the 5th best passing offense in the NFL, which makes sense because physically, Brady looks great. There's no physical decline with Brady. It's not like Peyton Manning's last year where he was throwing ducks and he was terrible. Brady looks great. Running game, literally 32nd, the literal worst running team in the entire NFL.
So they correlate pretty well. Yeah.
Which makes sense. Like, because Fournette, he's the type of guy, if you're getting pressure in the backfield, Fournette is not the type, he's not a Saquon Barkley who's going to break a bunch of tackles and, create something out of nothing. If you block for him for 3 yards, he'll get you 5 yards. But if you can't create any running lanes, then he can't do it. He's not nearly elusive or athletic enough. I struggle with the Ravens because like in every single game they've played, they built a double-digit lead. Every single game, 7 games, all 7, they've had a double-digit lead. They've blown 3 of them, considering they have a 4-3 record. And then even last week against the Browns, they desperately tried to blow that. They very much tried to blow that game.
Yep.
So, I mean, at first, the first 2, losing to the Dolphins, losing to the Bills, you can kind of forgive. And you're like, okay, 2 explosive offenses.
Yep.
And doing it to the Giants in the way they did, and then almost blowing it to the Browns. Like at some point, there has to be something to just being unable to hold a lead. And it's not just offensively or not just defensively, it's both. Like Lamar Jackson turned the ball over twice against the Giants to lose the game.
Yeah.
Against the Dolphins, they just gave up like 3 70-yard touchdowns. Not actually, but whatever it was, like a bunch of long bombs. Yeah. One thing I will say about the odds themselves, I don't like the line opened and the Ravens were favored. And they were like 2.5 point favorites when the lines opened. And I don't understand what changed and why they are now why now the Ravens are underdogs.
I think it's people are assuming, even though, like you said, the reality is like Andrews didn't practice and then he played. I think people are assuming that Andrews isn't going to play in addition to the other injuries. So
okay.
I don't, he does not account for that much of a swing, but I think he accounts for maybe a half point, you know.
Yeah, I mean that if he doesn't play, that's obviously a big deal. But you want to talk about injuries? Have you seen the Bucs? Who they're missing in the secondary? They're missing both of their starting cornerbacks, Sean Murphy Bunting and Carlton Davis, and they're missing their starting safety Antoine Winfield. I saw on Twitter that of their normal 6 starting secondary members, or 5, they're missing 4 of their top 6 players in the secondary if you include safety. Like to me, if assuming Bateman's healthy, assuming Mark Andrews is healthy, like that's just too much to overcome personally. So I like the Ravens in this one. You know, early in the week, they were plus EV at minus 115. I thought I got a great line. I mean, obviously that ended up working aggressively against me, but the odds changing, they're not plus money. Like I don't necessarily understand why. So I like the Ravens money line in this one.
Yeah, I would say, look, for me, if Andrews is playing, so I'm going to take a close look at this one. I would take the Ravens for the reasons that you already said, the secondary issues with the Bucs. The other thing is, like, going back to your comments about all those leads that were blown, minus the Dolphins, where that was just some insane barrage of passing with Tua and Tyreek Hill and Waddle. Like, I mean, that's a freakish anomaly of a fourth quarter. But minus that, the common thread was Barkley just running, Jones just running. Keep rotating those running backs with Hunt and Brown running. They cannot stop the run. And that's the weird part here. There's this weird, dynamic here where that's the soft spot for the Ravens D, and the Bucs can't run, right? So that's the other thing that stands out. So in addition to that problem, the secondaries, like those factors are why I'm saying, even though I'm not super confident, I would go with the Ravens on this just because of the situation and just because of where those soft spots are. But I don't know if the Bucs can take advantage of these soft spots on that Ravens D right now. So
it's like the opposite of an unstoppable force versus an immovable object. It's like an easily stoppable force against not
soft,
soft moving. I don't know what the opposite is, but that's basically
it's so weird. It's like which aspect is going to suck less, basically. So it's
for me, if it's bad offensive line versus bad defensive line, I generally think the edge goes to the bad defensive line because I think it's just like I just think playing offensive line is harder and it's easier for a bad defense to take advantage of a bad offensive line. Is my general thoughts towards it. Now, obviously, it's never actually that black and white, but if you just were to dumb it down between the two units, I'll take bad defensive line over bad offensive line.
Yeah. What do you think about the total? I was going to actually say, and oh man, and I know the unders are just winning. The unders are just winning constantly. And I keep getting baited. I mean, I keep getting baited, but God, man, I would actually lean the over, and I'm going to kill myself for doing this because I just feel like after that embarrassing loss, and this is not scientific at all, that the Bucs are going to come out a bit more focused and motivated. And put up something. Good Lord. And I feel like the Ravens are going to put up something with those secondary issues for the Bucs that I would lean the over, since we're usually commenting on the main market. So I would just lean the over, even though everyone's going to say, look at the unders, records, and trends. But
yeah, I mean, it opened up at 44.5. It's been bet up to 45.5, 46, depending on where you look. I'm with you. If I had to choose, I would choose the over as well. If you want to buy a half point, You can get a pretty good line over 45 at minus 115 at BetMGM. That's probably the most value in terms of like expected value on the total is buying that extra half point. But just from handicapping purposes, I would agree with you and lean towards the over.
All right. All right, guys. So we're moving on to our second game that we're going to break down. This one is on Sunday. It is the San Francisco 49ers at the Rams. So right now, San Francisco's about minus 115 on the money line on PointsBet. Rams are plus 105 on various books, popular books. Total is ranging anywhere, a half point differential. 42.5 to 43 is kind of where the total is sitting. So look, the way that I see this, and I'm just going to say it now so I could save time later, this is going to be one of my picks for the week. I am going to roll with the 49ers. I'm just going to put the money line. I'm just going to keep my life simple. It opened up at better odds earlier in the week, so if you got it earlier, great. Congrats to you. I am just going to take the money line here on PointsBet. In my opinion, so I'm just kind of diving right into it. It's just that, look, you get Christian McCaffrey. Now you got more time to actually get him reps, and he doesn't have to just have those limited packages that you had on that short week of getting him acclimated. You're getting healthier. You're getting some key guys back on the 49ers side. Their defense, we've already talked about week after week. I'm not going to give you the DVOA stats for that. Their defense is solid. Yes, they didn't win the other day, but their offense, as much as I rip on Jimmy G, their offense is 17th. They're not the worst. And crazily, I don't think we would have thought this at the beginning of the season. The Rams offense is horrific still.
They're awful.
It's horrifically awful. So I just know the defense is so goddamn rock steady. That's reliable. We saw what happened before. There's some crazy stat. It's one of those weird stats. Like, how much do you buy into it? It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy stat. It's like the last 11 times that Stafford has been sacked 5 times, he's like 0-11. Well, no crap. If you get sacked 5 times, you're likely losing. I mean,
yeah,
it's like stupid stat on face value, but
it's like teams that kneel the ball in the fourth quarter have it's a good stat because when you their offensive line's terrible.
Yeah, but we know like you said, and that's the thing in this matchup, it's not just a hypothetical. The 49ers have done this to them, and that's what happened. So if that plays out again, and they can get that pressure on Stafford with an offense that is basically just limping at this point, to me, this one just says I'm going to keep my life easy, and I'm just going to roll with the 49ers. So I don't even want to belabor the offensive woes of the Rams. So I just focused on highlighting why, in my opinion, I just feel that strongly about the 49ers. So I'll let Matt, if he has counterpoints to that, to, rip on Jimmy G, which I would still be ripping on him, even though I'm taking them. But what are your thoughts on this one, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like I already know the answer to your question, but the one question I had for you in this game is the 49ers are what, 3-4. The Rams are 3-3. If you had to pick one, which of the two would you choose to get? Like, which team would you trust more to get it together? Sounds like you're choosing the 49ers, but yeah, I'm assuming that's correct. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I just think the foundation is there. They have an identity. We're a defensive team. And they did what they needed to do. They're like, we're going to try to upgrade the offense. And they made a big splashy move. Can he stay healthy? I think that's everybody's main question. I mean, we'll see. But he's healthy to start this one game, and that's all I need. That's all I need him for.
And the scariest proposition, an always injured running back in Christian McCaffrey going to a team that always has injured running backs in the 49ers.
Yeah, I know. It's weird.
Yeah, it's scary. Weird. I agree with you, though. Like, I thought the Rams were frauds all last year. Every single playoff game they played in. Well, that's not actually true. I thought the 49ers would beat them in the championship game last year. I thought the Bengals would beat them. I was fading them all year, and they lucked their way into the Super Bowl, in my opinion. McVay got bailed out because he called a stupid run play on every single game, every single beginning of every single drive, which is like one of my least. That makes me more irrationally angry than a lot of dumb coaching decisions. Are coaches that just aggressively and stubbornly, regardless of whether it's successful or not, just run the ball. That nothing makes me more annoyed.
So, guys, my guilty pleasure on Twitter is following Jedi Modai's timeline during a Rams game where he needs something from the Rams offense.
Oh my God.
And just watching his timeline just get filled with rants about McVay's play calling. It's hilarious, guys. So if you ever
It's
want to see someone mentally imploding, it's if Matt ever needs the Rams to do something like put up team totals or cover a spread or win, you got to follow him during a Rams games.
yeah, I mean the mental state that it just degrades. But them and the Bengals are the two teams that make me the most mad because like I mean whatever. I could go on this rant all day.
The Bengals frustrate me too. Yeah,
it's so bad. But in terms of this game, I mean like teams just played what like a month ago and the 49ers just spanked them. Like I don't see any reason why this game should be different. Like yeah, the NFL is weird. It's always weird. Weird things are going to happen. But to me, like the ultimate equalizer, or like not necessarily equalizer, but like something that you just simply can't overcome is a bad offensive line. And especially when you're going against a good, not only good, well-coached defensive line in the 49ers. Like Bosa's going to feast. They have Armstead. And then like, they're just such a well-coached unit. And even after last week, like you mentioned, they got spanked by the Chiefs. They're still 5th in defensive DVOA. So like, even though I saw someone like whoever runs Football Outsiders said that like the performance on defense last week against the Chiefs was one of like the worst defensive performances they've ever graded out. Like it was bad. Yeah. And they're still top 5. PFF has them 7th. So like no matter what kind of advanced stat you look at, they're a good defense. And like, again, that the Rams offensive line was bad to begin the year, and they've lost 2 starters to injury for the entire season. And we haven't even talked about this yet, but like the weirdness going on with Cam Akers, how they're just like excusing him.
Yeah.
I don't understand what's going on. Like, and the Allen Robinson signing has been a total train wreck. God. At least Cooper Kupp's good. They have that to hang their hats on. But I've always thought that Sean McVay was a fraudulent head coach, especially when it comes to obviously play calling and stuff. Like I think he's great at scheming. He's like a very, very creative, like architect of an offense. I just don't think he has any business calling plays. He's also a total coward. Like on 4th downs and stuff, he kicks it, he punts it. Like he's a total coward on 4th down. And I like Shanahan. Like I still think he's a good coach. I love DeMeco Ryans, their defensive coordinator. So I'm with you. I love the 49ers in this one.
What do you think about the total on this one? Another one. It's like, it's so tricky. It's so low at 42.5 right now.
42?
42.5. You can get it at 42.5 at some place. 42.5 on like FanDuel, I think maybe PointsBet, and 43 at other places. It just depends. So
if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure I locked them in. I would need to check. I think I locked them in at like 44 earlier in the week. If that's so, that's the case. I got a pretty good line.
Oh, nice.
If that's the case, regardless, I mean, I love this total going under. And didn't it go under last time these two teams played? Like, didn't the Rams not even put up like double-digit points?
I think so. Yeah, I think it was very low. I mean, the Rams total, at least I remember it. So, yeah, I mean, I think it's been smashed a little too much for my liking. I think if I caught it over, closer to those key numbers, I probably would have just gone with the under as well, because I could see the Rams limping again in this one. So that it's just, how many are they going to put up is going to be my main question. So
yeah, last time they played, it was 24-9, the 40, and that includes a pick 6. So really, offensively, it was 17.
A disaster.
Yeah, I mean, you can get it at 43.5 at WinBet, and Ballybet are the two. Ballybet's not that common, but WinBet's legal in most states.
I see.
So that's probably what I would go with. I wouldn't touch it at 43 or 42.5, but 43.5, because it's above that 42 number is a big one.
Yeah.
So I like the under of the 43.5. It's not one of my best bets, but it is a good one.
Yeah. So, okay. So it looks like we're both on 49ers. 49ers is going to be one of my best bets for this week. That's why I kind of went into that rant really early. So, all right, guys, next game, moving at a good clip here. So New York Giants at the Seahawks. This one's a funny one. Who
would have thought the 6-1 Giants,
overachievers? Yeah,
the NFC West leader, Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah. So here we go, guys. So right now, as things stands, again, give or take, this is roughly where the odds are at. Seahawks are -3 at a lot of books. -158 money line. Giants +134. Total sitting around 44.5, give or take a half point. So I'll let you kick this one off. What are your initial thoughts or keys or things that stand out to you in this matchup, Matt?
Yeah, sure. So I want to give the Giants props. Like, I feel like half the teams in the NFL just find stupid ways to lose. And The Giants don't do that. They do the opposite. Like, well, I wouldn't necessarily say they do the opposite, but they don't beat themselves. Every week we see like the Titans week 1 missed a kick, lost the game. Lamar Jackson turned it over twice in the last like 4 minutes of the fourth quarter. Ravens lose. Last week, the Jaguars fumble in the end zone. They get stopped on 4th down. Giants don't do any of those things. Giants win. Like this is not me bashing the Giants, because that is good coaching. That's actually like a legitimately impressive and important quality. They're simply just not blowing it. But it's a remarkably untalented team. You take out Saquon Barkley, there's not a single player offensively or defensively that you're scared of. And they just lost their rookie tackle, Evan Neal, which is a big deal. And like, again, I want to give them props, but this, like, their margin of victory in order: 1 point, 1, 3, 3, 8, 6, 4, 6. Every single game has been within within one score. And I did find this was funny. So I looked at PFF. I looked at just overall offensive defense. Who is the worst team in the NFL according to PFF? The 6-1 New York Giants are the worst team in the NFL according to PFF.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Literally 32nd. They have the lowest PFF grade. But so the way I did look this up. So the way PFF works, they do player grades and they just add all them up and give them team grades. And the way
I see.
And the way the player grades work, so they grade every single player on every single play in a scale from like -2, which is like they just sucked, had the worst play ever, to a +2, which is like the best play ever. And then they go in half-point increments, if that makes sense. So if Daniel Jones makes the best play a quarterback can make, that'll be 2 points. If he has a Carson Wentzian turnover, that's -2. So it's not exactly the best stat in the world, but it does just show you that like none of the individual players on the Giants are doing anything remarkable. They're just simply not losing games.
Yeah, that's because, I mean, I'm glad you explained that to me and the listeners, because I would have figured if you just honed in on one aspect, the run game, right, that would at least, for the Giants, at least like loft them up. I mean, off the bottom, you know what I mean?
They're the 7th best running offense in the NFL, according to PFF.
Yeah. But interesting. But overall, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, they're 29th in receiving. On defense, they're the 3rd worst defense. So like they're really not analytically grading out well. I mean, DVOA is a little more friendly towards them, but PFF is not.
But what the crazy part is, right, if I'm not mistaken, both them and the Falcons have just absurdly been beating the spread, right? They've been covering at like an absurd rate, right? Both of them, I think, right?
The Falcons have covered every game except their last one.
Yeah.
The Giants have been underdogs in every game except for 2. And one of the games they were favorites, they lost, which was to the Cowboys.
Yeah. Yeah. They're scrappy. I'll tell you that. So,
So anyways, like in terms of this game, like personally, I think that we're not giving Seattle enough credit for legitimately being good. I think it's like week 1. Oh, that was fun. Like they beat Russ. Like that was great. Like their offense is the DVOA has them graded out well. PFF has them graded out well. I even looked at PFF's individual player grades. They have Geno Smith as the 4th best quarterback in the entire NFL, the 4th best, ahead of like Jalen Hurts, ahead of Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson. Now, Andy Dalton is 3rd. So you do want to take these stats with a grain of salt, but number 1 is Josh Allen and number 2 is Mahomes. So it's not like the rest of the top 10 outside of Andy Dalton is legit. That's just like some weird stat correction thing.
Sure.
And my thing with the Seahawks, they've been better defensively. Like for the first 5 or 6 weeks of the season, they were 32nd in DVOA on defense. Terrible. Now they're all the way down to 19th. Pete Carroll can coach. I mean, I think
Pete Carroll, there's the Pete Carroll effect I was about to say.
He can coach.
Yeah. That has been a huge improvement. And to your point, for those of you who want to know the DVOA metrics for quarterback, I think it makes a little more sense with the company he's keeping. Is they have Geno Smith as what is it? Let me see here. As like in the top 4, I think. So, which that doesn't surprise me.
He's number 4, both in DVOA and PFF has him ranked 4.
Yeah. So they both correlate. On DVOA, it's Mahomes, Allen, Tua. None of those are super surprising, and then Geno Smith right there in the mix, guys. So for those of you who have been Geno, there is a weird contingent of people who've been like huge Geno Smith supporters from the beginning. Like they're having a field day this year, saying "I told you so," and I'm not one of them. I'll tell you that.
I am not, and that's all in good fun. I can assure you that this literal Seahawks team is also like had no idea he was going to be this good. Like the whole offseason, they were viewing Drew Lock as their starter. Like they traded for Drew Lock. They wanted him to start. They had like it's good that things are going this well for the Seahawks, but they totally lucked into Geno Smith being as good as he is because this was not their plan.
Oh yeah, and I think it's great. I mean, I love these kind of storylines in the NFL, and I like the fact that he's slinging the rock. It makes the NFL so much more fun when you have guys who are just on these heaters. So hopefully he keeps it up and he just keeps these Seattle games entertaining. Because I mean, I'll be honest, like they've been fun to watch. They've been very decently enjoyable games. I mean,
very fun to watch. And so it's funny, like my question for this game is like almost the opposite of the previous two. Like the previous four teams we talked about are all disappointing. These are two like surprise teams. So my question is like, are any of these teams legit? And I'll define legit as in, will one of the Seahawks or Giants win one playoff game between the two of them?
Oh God. At this rate, yeah. And it's funny too, because if we go back, I mean, to give you some credit, I know you weren't like beating the drum saying the Giants are going to be amazing, but you did say it's like you said the Daboll effect, and you said if there was kind of a team that people were maybe sleeping on and that has the potential, you like you said earlier in this episode, I mean, coaching makes a difference, and look at what he's doing without revamping that damn roster, right? So
yeah,
it's like,
I mean, Daniel Jones hasn't turned the ball over in like 4 weeks now.
And on the Seahawks, I think people could be like, well, you still have DK, you still have blah, blah, blah. But look, these guys, they've been all banged up, and like you haven't had like that full contingent of weapons being consistently there for you. Like, in my opinion, yeah, both of these teams I'm saying this in a good way, like they're playing out of their minds right now to get the max potential out of the talent that they have. And it's not that like they're talentless, they have nice pieces, but I don't think anyone would have said on paper these teams would be where they're at right now at the beginning of the season. I don't think many people were saying like, oh, they're going to be in the mix of a genuine playoff push and hunt. I think this is a very nice surprise. I do think one of them can do that. And, I don't know. This game is so tough for me to call, man. I mean, for all the reasons. I mean, I think the Giants are going to do what they do. I think they're just going to keep running the damn ball. They're going to hope Saquon can go off for, I don't know, 140 yards this time, I guess. And Daniel Jones rushes for 80 or something. Like, I mean, the recipe works. It keeps them. They just want to keep it close enough that by the mid-fourth, it's still a one possession game, right? I mean, that's all they're asking for, basically, is this: can we not screw up, and can we keep this at a one possession game in the middle of the fourth, so we could just keep doing us, meaning running like nonstop. So it's hard to say, because I was surprised, because until earlier today before this recording, I assumed the Seahawks defense was still towards the bottom, and I was shocked. And I only looked at it today. So yeah, I mean, the fact that you were saying that, I was surprised that they have kind of revamped it a bit and made that much progress to improve it, as the season's been going on. That, God, I would have to ever so barely lean Seahawks, just given their
Seahawks
home
money line or spread.
Oh, I wouldn't trust anything with Giants and spread at this point. I would say I would trust them to win this game. If I could get Giants over 3, I would probably just go Giants 3.5.
Yeah, that's field goal.
But at 3, I would take the Seahawks then and hope that they cover, or at minimum get a push. If it went, and I'm being serious, and I know I'm not trying to like waffle, but if I got Giants over 3.5, I would take them, just because, look, I'm not just saying it to waffle. It's like they've been doing good against the spread, and when they've been over these like key numbers, like it's actually been important for them. That as it stands, -3, I don't have anything on this game right now. I would go Seahawks. I think Seahawks are going to win, but if it pushes later, if it moves later in the week, closer to the game above that key number, then I would take Giants over 3.5 just because of what they've been doing this season. So
yeah. Yeah, I'm with you. I think the Seahawks win, but I'm done doubting the Giants. Like I think for the 3 of the past 4 weeks, I picked them to lose and to also not even cover the spread.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm. But the only thing I'll say is in terms of just talent alone, I do think the Seahawks are more talented than we give them credit for, and more talented than the Giants. Like DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett are two like legitimately awesome wide receivers. Their running back, whose name is escaping me, Kenny Walker.
Kenneth Walker, yeah.
A monster. Absolute monster. They got like 2 good tight ends. Like Noah Fant's fine. Will Dissly's fine. And then like the biggest issue with the Seahawks was just going to be their offensive line, but they drafted 2 tackles, 2 rookies who are playing really well. And they have a rookie playing really well in the secondary, and Tariq Woolen. I forgot his name, but looked it up. Tariq Woolen. It's like 23rd according to PFF and cornerback grades in the entire NFL. So like they've hit on some draft picks, which I think is why they're better than we thought coming into the year. The Giants, I think it's all just coaching. It's just like not making the key mistakes that other teams make. So I agree with you. I took the Seahawks, or money line, I'll take the Seahawks. But if I had to take a spread, I'd take the Giants.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting because I wonder if early on both teams are going to run so often. Like, I mean, is this going to be one of these fast-paced clock-killing games just because they're going to run so often? Like the clock's not even going to stop this game. I can't. It's hard to tell. I mean, I could see it playing out that way. So we'll see.
Game for that reason. 2 teams that love to run the ball.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking right now. Giants are like 23rd in pace of play. Seattle's 20th in pace of play. Yeah. So you got 2 teams that like kind of grinding it out. So just to keep that in mind, both are very low in pace of play in terms of how they play their games, guys. So just keep that in mind if you're looking at the totals. So
yeah, that's a good call with the total. It's like 44.5, 45.
Yeah. Yep. So, and then they're in love with Walker. They're in love with Barkley. So, early in the game, they're not going to go away from that. They're not going to deviate.
If they don't need to pass, they won't.
They won't. So just keep that in mind, guys, that they're both very slow pace of play. They're likely going to pound the rock. So right now, it seems like more of the money's coming in on the over, but I don't know. I almost think the under might be a way to go just because of their style of play. So we'll see.
I agree with you. And I also think, I wonder how much of like the people just have like kind of like what we thought haven't realized that the Seahawks defense has been playing better recently. They just think, oh, Seahawks, like they're going to give up 1 million points. Give me the over.
Yep. Okay, guys, moving on to another primetime game. We have Packers at the Buffalo Bills. So let's go over real quick some of the odds we're seeing. Heavy favorites here. Bills are large number, guys, minus 10.5 favorites at most books, at various odds ranging from minus 115, minus 110, but minus 10.5. Don't even unless you're a huge Packers fan, I guess. Packers plus 400, Bills minus 520, heavy juice. And the total is around 47.5, give or take a half point. So my question before we get into analyzing this game, I don't know how much there's to analyze is the Packer season done, man? Are the Packers done?
I give the Bucs a better chance to figure it out than the Packers do.
Okay.
Because
and what's is it just the lack of weapons?
The Packers have nobody to throw to. Nobody.
There you go. Okay, like, that's what
I
thought.
Total hubris with how they manage that wide receiver position.
Yeah.
Total just a terrible way. Like trading away Devontae Adams, and they never sunk any meaningful resources into wide receiver. Of course, this was going to happen. Like I don't think it's wrong. Like Rodgers looks weird. I think he's more in his own head. Like Brady, I think watching the games, I'm not like, oh, Brady's like struggling. He's in his own head. I do feel that way when I watch Aaron Rodgers. I just think he's pissed off because all of his receivers stink. Like Romeo Doubs had like 5 drops last week against the Commanders.
He looked promising at the start of the season.
He's got legit talent and like explosiveness, as does Christian Watson. But if you're not where Rodgers wants you to be, if you can't catch the ball, like there's a reason why he loves Randall Cobb so much. Yeah. Just because he knows he can rely on him.
Well, he knows how to run a route, basically.
Exactly.
If I have to see them drop a play where they think they're being creative and cute, and they're doing Watson on a sweep for the 18th time,
they got nothing.
I can't watch that. They just keep sweeping to Watson as if the teams haven't seen this on tape now a million times this season. It's like,
Yeah.
how many times are you going to run that play?
It's a team out of answers. It's really what it is. It's a team out of answers. So, yeah, I mean, I have the same question. Will the Aaron Rodgers and the Packers figure it out? That was my question to you.
And I'm a Bears fan, but I've never doubted the skill set of Aaron Rodgers and how great he is, as a quarterback. This looks trouble. I don't know if A-Rod can pull a magic trick this season.
I mean, he has before. Like we all remember the REL, the relax year, the run the table year. He's like done this in the past, but this is different. Like to me, this is different. I look at like their last 3 losses, both New York teams and the Commanders. Some gross losses.
Yeah.
So I'll keep it brief. Like you gave your 49ers pick. The Bills minus 10.5 are one of my favorite plays this week. They're going to be one of my best bets. The Bills, we've said it all year. If there's going to be like a boring game on 1 o'clock that nobody's watching, they're going to be clunky, and they're going to be like Josh Allen's going to be a little bit inaccurate. Yep. But every single time the Bills have needed to show up, or there's been some sort of revenge narrative, they've done it. Now there's no revenge in this case, but it is prime time, and it is against Aaron Rodgers. So Josh Allen and the Bills are going to want to stomp. They're going to want to just stomp all over them. Yep. It's what we've seen all year. The Bills have covered every single spread except for 2, and the 2 they didn't. They lost to the Dolphins. No revenge factor there, and they pushed their spread against the Ravens, and the Bills knocked the Ravens out of the playoffs. So if anything, there was like the opposite revenge factor. But Chiefs won and covered. Titans won and covered. Rams won and covered. I think the same thing's going to happen. So I think they're going to blow them out. I don't think they're going to be able to score like 10 points in this game. I don't know. I don't see any scenario in which they will.
Yeah. I mean, and bottom line, guys, Buffalo Bills, #1 rush defense DVOA. So if you have some bright spot on the Packers, it was that you have Aaron Jones, but he's going to be shut down. So now you shut that down. We already talked about the fact there's just no one to throw to, minus, Cobb, who's going to get you those 6 yards.
He's out, and Cobb's out.
And he's not going to play.
And Christian Watson's hurt too. If he plays, like he's banged up.
I don't know how you're going to score. I don't think they can score. This is a no-brainer. It's a large number, and you always hear, I hate these large numbers, but I don't see how they're going to score against the Bills.
I agree. I mean, the Bills are just ridiculous. Like the Chiefs took them as the #1 offense after their insane performance against the 49ers. Prior to that, the Bills were #1 in offense and defense. Like they're just an insanely talented football team.
All right, guys, moving on to our final primetime game that we're going to talk about before we transition to best bets. Another one of Matt's favorite teams to talk about on offensive play calling. We have the Bengals at the Cincinnati Browns. So let's see here real quick, guys. This is what the odds are shaking out to be right now. Ooh, key number here. So Bengals -3.5 at a lot of books, kind of pick 'em odds. Cleveland Browns +3.5. Yeah. And then money line, Bengals -196-ish. Browns +164, total sitting at about a 47, give or take a half point. So that's what we got. So question is, Showtime Joe Burrow. Is he back? Is this the start of the Bengals offensive heater? Are the Bengals offense and rockstar Joe Burrow, are they officially back to get the season started with an offensive onslaught moving forward, man?
That was also my question to you. Funny enough, there's two things. #1, it's a very simple formula if you want to figure out if you should bet the Bengals or not. Okay, does the team they're playing have a good pass rush? If no, bet Bengals. If yes, fade Bengals. I legitimately think it's as simple as that. I also think, to give the coaching staff credit, as much as I've loved to roast them and they've been terrible, the past 2 weeks has been like a dramatic shift in how they've been running their offense. They're not running it nearly as much with just like up the gut with Joe Mixon. They're putting Joe Burrow in shotgun. They're being more creative. They're airing it out. I think they were so scared of Burrow getting hurt the way he did his rookie year.
Yeah.
And also scarred from what happened in the playoffs where he was sacked like a zillion times in their 4 playoff games. that they were like just doing the literal thing I hate the most in the entire world, is just running it up the gut to no success every single first and second down. They didn't do that the past 2 weeks. No. Unsurprisingly, they scored 30 and 35 points the last 2 weeks.
Yep.
And as much shit as we like to give them, they have now scored 27 or more points in 4 of their last 5 games. And in reality, no matter how you slice it, the Browns don't have a good defense. They're in DVOA, they're 5th worst. PFF, they're 5th worst. Even if you look with, they're like, you think, okay, well, like they have a good pass rush with Jadeveon Clowney and Myles Garrett. Both PFF and DVOA have the middle of the pack in terms of pass rush. Yeah. So I was able to get the Bengals at -3 at -110 on Caesars earlier today. I tweeted that out. Yep. I mean, this is going to be one of my best bets. Long story short, give me the Bengals all day. Give me the Bengals twice on Sunday. I guess Monday in this case. Bengals -3, one of my best bets.
That's funny because I locked it in on Caesars at -110 because that was the only place I could catch it at -3.
That had it at -110.
Everywhere else had -3.5.
Or sorry, -3. That's what I meant. Yeah.
That was So that was on OddsJam, and when I saw that, I hopped on that immediately because I'm like, you're going to give me -3 right at under the 3.5 number.
Easy
to me. That was no brainer on that one.
And the Browns and the Bengals smashed the Browns last year. They absolutely smashed them. I forget the exact score. I'll look it up now. If you look at their history, when they played last year. Come on, let me pull it up. This should be easier to pull up scoring history. So, okay, last year, actually, no, I was wrong. I had the opposite. Sorry, I completely misread that. The Browns smashed the Bengals last year, 41-16.
Oh, so you're saying now revenge makes it a guaranteed cover, basically.
Well, I just completely misremember that game. Sometimes we get stuff wrong, but it doesn't scare me off this one regardless. It doesn't scare me off.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, I don't have too much to break down on this except that
I don't either.
The offensive play calling has changed, like Matt said. They're freeing up Burrow to just sling it at this point. If they can continue that, the Browns just don't have the defense to stop that. The Bengals do have the ability to slow down the run, which is obviously the key of what the Browns want to do. That strength versus strength will balance out a little bit, and the defense can't stop the Bengals offense. And I think that's where the edge is really. So
I agree. And the Bengals quietly have a very, very good defense. They're 6th in DVOA. I think if you polled the average football fan, do you think they could name 2 players on the Bengals defense?
Probably not.
I think I would struggle probably to come up with 4.
You'd be hard pressed to get me to get 3 probably. So there you go.
Eli Apple, because I know everybody loves to roast him. He's one. They got good safeties, Von Bell and Jesse Nelson, I think is the other one. And then their pass rusher, Trey Hendrickson, I think is his name. Good pass rusher. But regardless, it's not a sexy defense in terms of star talent and takeaways and stuff. They're just well coached. Honestly, they remind me of the Giants kind of. They're just well coached. They do it. They do what they're supposed to do. They mind their responsibilities well. Everybody's in the perfect position. So yeah, anyways, give me the Bengals.
Sounds good. All right. So let's move on, guys. Let's go into our best bets for the week. And it looks like today we've kind of gone over some of them already. So we'll try to be quick. And we'll see if we have any backup alternatives, if we have some overlap here. So some of the ones I already listed, I'll just run through them real quick because it sounds like we actually do surprising. And again, Matt and I, we don't talk about these
that's the funny
before
part.
The game. And we keep separate sheets for notes, on Google Drive and stuff that we don't look at each other's. But I'll just rattle mine off since we already kind of talked about some of these. So you don't need to hear the rationale again. One is, you already heard how I ranted about the 49ers. I think this is going to be a repeat of the previous game. And the fact that we're going to get them at, close to pick 'em odds on the money line, I didn't even hesitate. I wish I'd caught it earlier. But yeah, I am going to take the 49ers money line. The best I can get right now is -115, which disappoints me. I wish I was a little more studious and early, but I am going to take the money line for the 49ers. That's going to be one of mine. You already heard my reason why. I already had, and again, I did not talk to Matt about this, Bills -10.5. I'm going to take them to cover because Packers aren't going to be able to run on them. And if you can't run on them and you have no receivers, I just don't know how you're going to score. It's simple as that. I don't know how you are going to score against the Bills. So huge number, but I could see the Bills winning by 14, 17, 21. I don't know, but I'm going to take the Bills minus 10.5. We just talked about it. I didn't even give a breakdown because Matt and I basically saw the value here, and I have the Bengals -3 on Monday night. Those are my top three. I'm going to give you an alternate, though, real fast.
I have some alternates as well.
So for those of you who are like, this is stupid if you guys overlap too many bets, my backup was, and again, I wish I caught them at a key number. I did not. For transparency's sake, Dolphins -3.5. I wish I got them at 3. I'm going to take Dolphins -3.5. They're just a different team with Tua at QB, and you can see that. And, yes, you can say they struggled when last week, the defense on the other side closed up the middle and they weren't giving them those easy middle crossing routes. But look, I don't think that the Lions are going to be able to keep up pace. I think it was fun. It was cute at the beginning of the season, but you're just seeing the problems, with the Lions right now that I just find it hard to see them keeping pace with the Dolphins. Tua's had more time now to practice, get reacclimated. I wish I caught it at 3. I probably would have hammered it then, but at -3.5, I'm going to do a standard 1-unit bet. So I have the Dolphins -3.5 as one of my backup bets. So,
okay, I like it. I'll give you the 3 that I had prior to discussing it, and then I'll give some alternates as well. So we don't, like you said, Bills -10.5 we mentioned, Bengals -3 we mentioned. The 2 that we talked about, or 2 that we haven't talked about, the under in the Eagles-Steelers game, under 44, I think is a pretty good one. The Eagles have shown they could take advantage of a bad offense. And we've also seen the Eagles are pretty content sitting on a lead. They're not ones they're the opposite of the Bills. They're not ones to run it up. They get a 10-point lead. They're going to play ball control offense, and they're going to run the ball 14 straight times. So if the Eagles get up at halftime, 14-7 or 14-3, whatever, any 2-score lead, they're just going to run the ball the entire second half. So the under 44, I think, is a good play. I wouldn't be shocked if the Eagles offense struggled a little bit, just because I have so much faith in Mike Tomlin as a defensive coach. I think that they'll be able to scheme something up to not necessarily stop the Eagles offense, but I don't see them putting up in like the high 20s, low 30s. I think probably high teens, low 20s. Ravens money line we talked about. I have to take an L there because, like I said, I got them at -115, and now their closing line is all the way at like +117, which I'm shocked by. So, but some alternates that I had: Titans -1.5 against the Texans. Tell me why the Titans are only getting 1.5 points against the Texans. The Texans have the worst rush defense in the entire NFL, and they're playing against Derrick Henry. And the Titans have won 4 straight. Like I don't understand why the Titans are only getting 1.5 points. I don't get it.
Should we look at Henry 2 TDs?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, So we called, I think, 3 of 4 running backs that we're going to get. Or sorry, we mentioned 4 running backs that we think had 2 TD potential. I'm pretty sure 3 of them got 2 touchdowns.
Oh, yeah, of course they did.
It was Jacobs, it was Zeke, and who was it? Who was the third one? I know we had Fournette, who didn't get a touchdown.
I know that screwed us.
But there was another one where, anyways, that doesn't matter. So give me the Titans -1.5. In my next play, I did lock in the under in the 49ers Rams game. I got under 44 at -110 odds.
If I had that, I like that number. I'm not going to touch it now at 42.5, but 40, that's a good number to get it at.
Yeah, if you have WinBet, you could still get it at 43.5.
Okay.
So that extra half point, I still think is worth taking at -110 odds. So for my official 3, I'll let you, because I feel like you always end up giving me the ones that we have overlap on. So I will go Eagles, Steelers under 44. I'll go Titans -1.5, and I will go.
Just stick with the original 3, and then you just give the alternatives for people to consider. Don't worry about it. Just stick with your gut. Stick with your gut.
Well, all right.
People have the option to bet the alternatives if they don't like the lack of variety. So
I still like. To be clear, I still like the alternatives. I have actually also bet myself, so it's not something that I'm like leaning or that I'm like suggesting just to get a play out there. They're actually ones that I have locked in.
Oh yeah, same with me. I have 100. I bet, what is it, 110 to win 100 on the Dolphins -3.5. So I am on the Dolphins -3.5. But yeah, my top 3 were the ones that I mentioned. The Bills minus 10.5, Bengals minus 3, and the 49ers money line.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Cool.
All right. All right, guys. Well, thank you for staying tuned through our whole episode. Hopefully we do a better job this week on our top 3 picks. Unlike last week, I think we both went 2-1 the prior week, 1-2 this past week.
Yeah.
So hopefully we have some of these teams do what they need to do and just cover these spreads, win the games for us. Like I said, send in your emails to the mailbag. Follow us on Primetime's games for live streams. So, let's see later. If you're listening this to us on Thursday, we'll be doing a live stream right before the game, before Ravens and Bucks. We'll try to whip up another excruciating SGP where we come up one short, but we did have Matt hit one, was it a week ago?
So
let's
Sunday
see.
Night Football a week ago. Yeah.
Yeah. Sunday Night Football. I think this game has potential. I think these guys are going to come out, and some of them I think we should get decent scoring games. So I think we find couple key scoring guys. We find a couple rushing props maybe for the Ravens. Maybe passing props for the Ravens. Brady to maybe throw in a negative game script. We'll come up with something, guys, and we'll try to hit another SGP together, have some fun in our interaction. So again, join us, subscribe to our YouTube channel, the Sweat the Bet YouTube channel, turn on your notifications, join us for primetime streams, as well as listening to us on podcast mediums, basically. Hopefully my voice is back by the next time we do this, so you don't have to listen to me struggling breathing. But thank you again, Andrew Kim, aka the ParlayDoc, Matt Jedi Modi, for another episode of the Sweat the Bet podcast.
All right, thanks, guys. Go Phillies.